It is the country have been faced with fuel shortage. Now here in Lagos, long queues are still very visible as motorists and residents along Alakboro axis of the state called for a fast solution to the problem. Now PlusTV News monitored the situation and brought back an update.
It hasn't been easy pertaining to the fuel scarcity. The situation is very protective for we, the end users. It hasn't been easy getting fuel from each filling stations. We'll go to different filling stations, and it's very, very hard for us to get fuel.
They should release the fuel. Wherever they are holding, they should release it because it's making transport fare high. It's making people stranded on the road. Bus are supposed to get fuel to carry people. They don't get fuel to carry people. So people are plenty in the bus stop.
Some people used to sell the fuel 200 per liter. Some people used to sell the fuel 170 for the fuel. But to get the fuel is not easy. It's too stressful.
This is my second time of buying fuel in this total filling station at Alakboro. They are cheating people. This is Corolla, which everybody knows. They call it Almighty Corolla. Whenever you are using Corolla, you must know the fuel that will fill your tank to the beam. If I want to fill my tank from quarter downward, the total fuel that I used to buy is 6,000 naira. Oh no, okay. On half tank, I came in to go and just top up my fuel. At least I was thinking maybe 3,000 or 2,500. On getting here, they are selling 4,000. That's in full. I said, sir, where are you selling it to? 4,000. Stop. He has to stop. And I want to go and meet the manager that what is sold for me here is not accurate.
Meantime, the Youth Party in Nigeria has lamented the federal government's refusal to hold any official accountable for the importation of 3 million litres of substandard petrol in the country and said it is unacceptable. Earlier, party's National Publicity Secretary Ayodele Adio was in our studios.
I mean, our display of anger is a frustration and irritation that comes from a lack of accountability from public officials who should otherwise know better. I mean, we're talking about importing 100 million liters of adulterated petrol into the country that has knocked off engines for cars, for generators, and yet no one is held to account. It makes absolutely no sense to me. It's been, first of all, it took 3 days and public outcry for the NNPC to have the courtesy to issue a public statement when cars were being damaged, when queues were already piling up at the filling stations. They didn't deem it fit to inform Nigerians why there was scarcity or why there was a bad petrol that was knocking car engines. It took the president, who doubles as the Minister of Petroleum, an extra 2-3 days to issue what, for me again, you wouldn't even call a very stern statement on the issue that had, befallen the entire country. The NNPC cannot be on top of its game because it claims that it has enough reserves, and then there's still scarcity all over the country. And it's important to emphasize this point. The NNPC have also said that they may require to spend 201 billion naira to clean up the bad petrol. 201 billion naira. ASU is going on strike, or they have just gone on strike, because the federal government lacks 30 billion naira to give them for revitalization fund for the universities. There can be no way forward if public officials are not held accountable. So I would argue that the first thing that needs to happen is that people must be punished for costing the country billions of naira, for causing a lot of hardship, and for causing damages to the Nigerian people.
In other news now, the Police Service Commission has suspended an Assistant Commissioner of Police, Sunday Uboa, and an Assistant Superintendent of Police, James Bawa, who both worked under the embattled Abba Kyari in the intelligence response team of the Nigeria Police Force. They were alleged to have been involved in the current cocaine seizure and transferred to the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency. Now, the PSC said Kyari, who is in custody, would remain suspended until investigations into the matter are completed. And now to education matters, the Academic Staff Union of Polytechnics, ASUP, are set to embark on an indefinite strike, according to its national president, Anderson Ezibe. At the meeting at Hussein Adamu Federal Polytechnic, Kazare, Jigawa State, Ezibe pointed out that ASIP suspended its industrial action on June 10, 2021 for further and fruitful resolution between it and the federal government, but accused the government of reneging on some part of the agreement it reached with the union last year. Now, part of the agreement included the release of 15 billion naira for the revitalization of polytechnics and monotechnics, among others. Now, students of the University of Benin in Edo State have barricaded the road in a solidarity protest for the ongoing strike by the Academic Staff Union of University, ZASU. The protestant students blocked the Benin-Lagos Expressway, which resulted in a heavy gridlock. The students commenced a two-day solidarity protest on Wednesday, insisting that they were determined to continue with the action until the federal government fulfills the 2019 agreement with ASU. They have also called for a robust reworking of the public university system in Nigeria to enable students to compete with their counterparts in other, more civilized countries. Meantime, the federal government says it has commenced a move to meet one of the demands of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU. The ministry announced this in a statement today. The move by the government to inaugurate a white paper drafting panel came almost a year after the visiting panels to tertiary institutions constituted by the President, Muhammadu Buhari, submitted reports of the findings to the Education Ministry. Now, the visiting panel, which was inaugurated by the President, was to look into the lapses in the administration of universities. Now, one of ASU's demands is the release of the white paper panel report. ASU's President, Professor Emmanuel Osodeke, could not be reached for his comment as of time of filing this report. Now, Brigadier General Jafar Mohammed has been revealed as the top military officer fingered in the latest seizure by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC. On Tuesday, the commission had presented details of 24 properties worth 10.9 billion naira forfeited to the federal government by the military officers, including late General Maudi Aminu Kano. Though the commission did not give the name of the officer, now findings have linked the forfeiture to Mohammed. Now, currently, the Director of Finance and Administration in the Office of the National Security Advisor. Mohammed was appointed by the EFCC in 2017 under Ibrahim Mago to take charges of the finances of the National Intelligence Agency, NIA, after 13 billion naira belonging to the spy agencies was found in an apartment in Lagos. The commission had at the time taken charge of bank accounts operated by the Nigeria's Foreign Intelligence Service. The recovered loots made up of $43.5 million, 27,800 pounds, and 23.2 million naira was found hidden inside apartment 7B at Osborne Towers, Ikoyi, by operatives of the EFCC on April the 12th. We're now being joined by political analyst Biodun Showomi. Many thanks for joining us on the news, Barrister Showomi.
I'm pleased to be with you.
All right, let's just get your candid opinion concerning this new discovery concerning the 13 billion naira Ikoyi loot. It is really amazing to find out that the EFC's accountant is actually been indicted in this particular mess, as it were, stealing 10.9 billion naira. What are your thoughts exactly?
It's quite very shocking that an accountant with the EFCC, will have the audacity to loot the kind of money alleged that he had looted. 10 billion naira out of the 13 billion naira discovered in a secret house, allegedly traced to Nigerian intelligence agency, NIA. Why would the accountant even imagine that he choose to do that kind of money or all the money without anybody, without any fear of any backlash or whatnot? That would tell you the level of fraud in the country. Not only that, it also tells you that there is no way the accountant alone can carry out such a heist without the connivance of one or two other people within the agency. So it's important for this matter to be thoroughly investigated, and we need to get to the root of it. All those culpables, need to be dealt with. We cannot just assume he's just the accountant. You cannot just put 10 billion naira, without the connivance of any other senior staff or junior staff. So this is a matter that cannot be investigated by EFCC, and in my view, it's a matter that should be transferred to a different agency completely, or SFP, serious fraud unit, special fraud unit, to look into this issue. You cannot just trust EFCC alone, to investigate itself. Then it also calls for the need to audit all the recovered goods so far to see the extent of beverage of those goods that had happened under the different leadership of the EFCC.
Right, Barrister, show me. It has been quite some time since this 13 billion naira Ikoyi loot. Like you have rightly pointed out, this goes just beyond the EFC's accountant. You've just said that other top members of the EFC or maybe other authorities might be involved. In your opinion, why do you think this particular issue is taking too long to be investigated?
I didn't get that.
I asked, in your opinion, why do you think this particular issue of 13 billion naira Ikoyi loot is taking so long to be investigated? As you have just rightly said, that it goes beyond just the EFC's accountant, that other parties might have been in law. What exactly is this really telling us about the investigating process?
I didn't get it. I'm having a problem with the audio. It's fainted. It's gone faint.
All right, once again, I'll try and see if you can, let's try and rephrase the question in another way. I wanted to get your candid opinion concerning why this particular investigation is taking so long. Indeed, there is a discovery today that the accountant, stole 10.9 billion naira. What exactly is happening? What do you really think is the body language of the EFCC? Why has it really taken for so long for this particular issue to have been unraveled and be sorted out completely?
Yeah, precisely. I guess your question is, why did it take so long for this to be detected?
Yes.
Yes, it's one of the baffling things when that calls for the need for checks and balances. We cannot just trust EFCC officials that they will necessarily do the right thing. Yes, we can have very many of the officers, I strongly believe, are good officers who are willing to do the right thing. But you still have the bad eggs. This is Nigeria. There's still a few bad eggs going through the system that needs to be checked. And they're quite often, bad, by powerful people. So therefore, there's the need for checks and balances on one part. On the other hand, I will also blame the National Assembly because they have the oversight function over executive affairs. So why is it that the National Assembly did not even spot this loot, or the fact that it's been pilfered allegedly, when they're carrying out their oversight? Or is it that they've not carried out oversight functions on the EFCC? Do they keep approving, appropriating funds, public funds for EFCC year in, year out, without a proper oversight function, by checking to make sure that goods recovered, are not again limited? So in a way, it tells me a lot about the state of the nation, the state of governmental institutions, the lack of checks and balance, and corruption within the system. So we need to begin to tighten up, on the process, whereby it is not only those who are supposed to carry out the oversight functions, that should be held accountable, but also those who are appropriating funds without, cross-checking how those funds are being used. They should be held accountable. There's a committee dealing with EFCC. So what were they doing? We need to begin to ask more questions.
All right, thank you so much, Barrister Biodo Shomi, a political analyst, for your thought on the news tonight. We do appreciate it.
Congratulations.
All right, moving on now. The Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, says the federal government's engagement with microblogging site Twitter has been fruitful. He stated this while receiving the United States Deputy Assistant Secretary of State for African Affairs, Akuna Cook, in his office in Abuja. Again, Mohammed explained the motive behind the banning of Twitter in the country by the federal government, saying certain persons were using the microblogging site to cause disunity in the country. The minister also solicited collaboration between Nigeria and the United States in repositioning the nation's creative and culture industry, especially in improving the quality of Nollywood movies. According to him, the Nigerian government is working hard to reposition the creative and culture industry, which has been badly impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic because of the immense contribution of the sector to the nation's GDP. Now, for Nigeria to be great, the right things must be done. These were words of Professor Christopher Imamwalen at the press conference he addressed the current issues on bedeviling the nation's education, security system, and the economy.
We are talking about three major issues now. The fuel scarcity, which is currently ravaging the whole part of the country, the insecurity issues, and what? The ASU strike. These are major three issues that should keep a responsible government on their feet without even having with sleepless nights. Education is key, like I said. Education system must not be seen as a business venture. We live in a country whereby over 40 million Nigerians are unemployed, underemployed. Now, leadership, we need to start thinking about how do we create jobs, how do we encourage, how do we create a 24 hours economy. In countries that are very close to Nigeria, please, if you can visit those countries, you would see vividly that there is electricity. How do you run an economy without power? In Nigeria, we now estimate power produced by naira, not by kilowatts. It's very, very important we understand some of these things to ensure that Nigeria become a nation that leads African nation.
When asked what he would do differently in bringing about positive changes, Professor Imamwalen, who is aspiring to contest the next presidential election, had this to say.
Nigeria must begin to think from being a consuming economy to becoming a production economy. And that can happen by ensuring that local manufacturers, graduate from the universities, are trained to become an entrepreneur and to support given to them. What we need to solve the educational challenges is a sincere approach. First and foremost, there's a pending issue between us and government. Let it be trashed out. Yes, let it be trashed out. Government, we have this fund in Nigeria. Let it be trashed out once and for all. A lot of people are trying to say that the ASU is trying to politicize the. No, this issue should. There's largely insincerity from the part of the government. Government should look at this and trash it out.
Now, the Deputy Senate President Ovie Omo-Agege has charged the newly elected executive of the All Progressives Congress, APC, in Delta State to work in line with the party's constitution and make peace with aggrieved members who are not happy with the outcome of the state Congress. The Deputy Senate President said this at the inauguration ceremony held in Asaba, the state capital. He said the focus of the party is to defeat Governor Ifeanyi Okowa and other PDP candidates in the 2023 forthcoming governorship elections in the state.
We have commenced a process of reconciliation, and very soon everybody will be on board. I said we are going to provide an effective leadership that will invite partnership.
For you, reach out to them. We know them. They are our brothers and they are our sisters. Our goal is not to defeat them. Our goal is to defeat Okowa and defeat whoever he plans to attempt to impose on Delta. I say attempt because I know that he can never succeed. Not when we are here. The people of Delta State will determine who the next governor of Delta State will be.
Now, the Senate has condemned the frequent killings between the Eza people in Benue State and the Effium people of Ebonyi State. The Senate position was equal to a motion sponsored by Senator Abba Moro. Moro lamented that the feeling of comradeship between the border communities of Eza in Ado local government area of Benue State and the Fium of Ahouku local government area of Ebonyi State no longer exists. He said the development was caused by ceaseless communal clashes between the duo. The Benue South lawmaker regretted that a petition on these same crises was laid through him in the Senate on May 5th last year.
Myself and Senator Egu addressed a press conference where we call on our people to exercise restraint and shield their assaults. But Mr. President, unfortunately, the crisis continued to linger. And only recently, 2 attacks were carried on the people of Eza, of Ado local government, in which 9 and 22 persons were killed and houses razed and properties destroyed. Mr. President, as I'm making this explanation, virtually all Eza people have deserted their ancestral home.
There's need to put more security agencies in those areas to ensure that the lives and property of our people are protected in Benue South and indeed across the country.
The Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps in Imo State has paraded 4 suspects of bunkering that were carrying the exhibit from River State to a location in Enugu in 3 trucks before they were intercepted by the men of the NSCDC. The commandant said the command also arrested 1 alleged notorious female syndicate who specializes in point-of-sale fraud.
They were arrested along Ngokbala Road last week. So we are charging them to court this week. They are illegally carrying products that are illegally refined and they are bunkered product. Some of them they look like they want to call blue gas. They have fake blue gas there, fake diesel. They want to call casarina. They also have rice and beans. They want to call rice and beans. They want to mix. They also have this kerosene I used to bonfire. They have.
I'm from Boy State. I'm working in River State. I'm a transporter. So why are they here is that the day when they hire our trucks to carry their materials, because we are transporters. So anybody fee hire us to carry materials. So when the people where we carry their load, they come, they ask our company to carry their materials.
What is the material? You're calling the name?
They call our material, the material where we want to carry is best oil. That's what they tell us. Our boss asks them, is it best oil? They say yes. They say okay. It's best oil is normal, something what people know it. Then from there, allow us to go carry the load. When we go carry the load for their yacht, going to Enugu, that's where they come around this Mbala junction.
Now, the National Assembly has called for the investigation of abandoned 400 billion National Primary Health Center project. The project was initiated by the former administration of President Olusegun Obasanjo in 2016 to build a 63-bedroom primary health center. It included ambulances and all basic hospital equipment in each of the 774 local government areas in Nigeria.
The Senate further notes that in order to achieve this lofty project, the federal government deducted monies from the excess crude account of all the 774 local government areas on a monthly basis, whereas the same money with the then Platinum Abib Bank, now Keystone Bank, until the funds required for the actualization of the project was realized. And the Senate is disturbed that some of these projects were commenced and abandoned at various stages, while majority of them were never started, despite the huge sum of money released to all subcontractors.
Mr. President, I think this is an opportunity for us to really look into this matter dispassionately and put the blame where it is, because Nigerians have been shortchanged about this project. The money has been paid very substantially, but there's nothing to show for it.
Mr. President, this is one time to make good what we have said about the 9th Senate. The investigation must go on. We must be able to lay the blames where they should be really, and something good must come out of this. 440 billion naira, Mr. President, is something that would work well for our people in the health sector. Thank you very much.
Now, there is the need to scale up rapid self-testing to increase the knowledge of HIV status, care and treatment among Nigerians. A group, African Network of Adolescents and Young Persons Development, which laments that only 1 out of 5 young people knows their HIV status, believes that self-testing kits remove the barriers or the apathy exhibited by traditional testing services. Executive Director of the group, Aaron Sunday, says adolescents and young people, AYP, are usually underserved by traditional HIV testing services in Nigeria due to fear of perceived stigma and inadequate friendly service facilities. While explaining the HIV Self-Testing Africa initiative tagged Star 3 project, Sunday says it will ultimately reduce mortality and morbidity. The target of the Star 3 project is to oversee distribution of 30,000 HIV self-testing kits among priority groups of persons aged between 15 and 24 years across 5 local government areas in Lagos State.
The project explores solutions to problem of low testing rates among youth, as studies and statistics shows that. Understanding the peculiarities of adolescents and young people, we employ primarily a peer-to-peer-led approach. AYPs reaching their peers with HIV and HIV self-testing information. This is because young people find it easier to confide in their peers, and they believe that their peers understand their struggle better than older adults. This approach is considered from 2 perspectives, the online and offline component. This is to engage a wider demographics of youth in their diversities.
I'd like to use this opportunity to say to the government, the partners and other stakeholders that they should look at involving and engaging other young people on projects like this, especially when it is something that is about them, that concerns their well-being, their health. It's not just enough to design projects for us. We can do projects for ourselves, like we can get involved in projects for ourselves as well, because we understand our pains, we understand what we need, we understand how we can reach other young people as ourselves, we understand how best to talk to ourselves.
Actually, while working with the inline statutory project, I've already experienced a lot about relating with my peers, my fellow peers, and building their confidence to do their HIV self-testing without having any fear of stigmatization, and also counseling them more on HIV self-testing, to tell their friends and fellow ones to do it, to know their HIV status, and to be sure that they are free from AIDS.
Now, the Edo State chapter of the Association of Resident Doctors has called on security agencies in the state to unravel the circumstances surrounding the death of one of its members, an optician at the University of Benin Teaching Hospital, who was murdered at his residence in Benin, the state capital. The police public relations officer, SP Kongtons Bello, who confirmed the report, said the command has received the report and has opened an investigation to bring the daredevil criminals to book.
His loss is really something, it's a great loss to our department, it's a great loss to all of us in UBTH. Early in the morning, we were informed that he was shot by armed robbers in his home, in the presence of his pregnant wife, and he died on the spot.
If there is security, we would love to serve our fatherland. A lot of doctors are patriotic, a lot of doctors want to give back to the system that trained them. And security is one of the main reasons why we will all love to stay in Nigeria. Once the security improves, we will stay. Imagine a young man in presence of his young wife, assassinated. That's what I would call it, because you can't just break into somebody's house, steal from the person, and still kill the person. That's too much.
Staff of the University of Benin Teaching Hospital and an ophthalmologist working there was shot dead in his residence, Robin Hago Avenue, area of GRA in Benin City. So the information the police received and swung into action. And for now, this is what we are going to say, because investigation is still on to unravel those behind the crime.
And back here in Lagos, all, including the community, have a huge role to play in educating the boy child, as it would help in stemming societal ills. Now, these were words of the wife of the Lagos State Governor, Dr. Ibijoke Sanwo-Olu, at the second day of a 3-day workshop on the Boy Child Initiative. Love Ikuku Oyedokun covered the workshop for PlusTV News.
Better informed, we do best. Better informed, we do best. Better informed, we do best.
Better reformed, we do better. That's a message from this workshop. The theme speaks volume. The 21st century boy child speaking with confidence. Wife of Lagos State Governor Dr. Ibijoke Sanwo-Olu blames the society for robbing the boy child of his confidence. She wants this narrative changed.
A lot of things are happening. They're painting the boy child bad. He's always bullying. He's a macho man. That's the only thing we hear about them. Okay, maybe one of them became president, governor, but the story and the picture we're having out there is not good, and we want to change the narrative. We want them to know that the boys are also very useful men. The boys are going to become men, and boys have emotions too.
Everyone is unique, so says the First Lady, who insists no child should be underestimated, but be given all needed support for them to realize their full potentials.
For us in the community, we have a lot of work to do. We are going to be the community parents, community police officers ourselves, to ensure that every child goes to school. It doesn't pay us when one child is left behind. It might be that child that is roaming the streets, the most brilliant, but doesn't have the opportunity to go to school.
The Commissioner for Health, Professor Akin Abayomi, boosts the morale of the students.
I'm not saying don't have an interesting life, but let's make sure that you are focused. Let's have what is your focus? Your focus is to become a professional, to add value to society, to add value to yourself, so that when I buy your services, I'm going to be buying at a high rate.
These boys are ready to take up challenges and be problem solvers.
Readers of today are leaders of tomorrow. When you take your time to read, work hard in the early age, then definitely you achieve your goal.
They should be of themselves. They should not allow anyone to define them. The esteem they have for themselves will be the one to determine their long way.
Speakers at the event advised the boys to be wary of the company they keep in order not to jeopardize their future. From Baduri, Lagos, Love Ikuku Uyeduku, PlusTV News.
Well, staying with education, over 100 science-inclined secondary school girls in Benue State have been advised to adopt mentorship and take role models who will help in sharpening their chosen life career. The students were drawn from 21 schools within and outside Makurdi metropolis to interact with professionals from various science, engineering disciplines. A professor of agrochemistry, Lami Namono, who organized the workshop under the auspices of Network of Nigerian Women in Science, Tech, Engineering and Mathematics and Medicine STEM, maintained that these interactions will help the students to deviate from vices that could undermine their future.
Sometimes people say, oh, science, it's not for girls, it's not for ladies. So that passion I have is to encourage these girls and get them to interact with role models so that they are inspired. I mean, if this person can do it, I can do it as well. So that's basically the idea. So we celebrate the achievements of women in science.
You see that the opportunities are endless. Will you do that one with music and finance? You can't do it now. You need to know some biology, some chemistry, some physics, some mathematics. Do you understand? To understand how when you combine this with this food, what can happen in the process, the chemical reactions that can go on, how you can change one form to the other.
And she's not good in maths. Is there any person that is not good in maths after today's presentation? Nobody. You just need to brave it and face mathematics. Maths phobia and maths anxiety, we have to get rid of it.
Even when you're having issues in your home and you're being battered as a married woman, the law now protects you. There's a law against gender and domestic violence gender-based violence. There is a law that she has passed through the Benue State House of Assembly. It's in place right now.
Now straight to Kaduna State, where the chapter of the Boys Brigade Nigeria has called on government at all levels, as well as well-meaning Nigerians, to shun all forms of religious bigotry and engage youth in the fight against insecurity in the country. Now, the BB at the 7th investiture ceremony of the state president advocate for national peace and unity as the bedrock of nation building. Our correspondent, Habila Durafai, filed in this report as presented from our studios.
Over the years, Boys Brigade has been one of the Christian groups that groom young boys, girls and youths in the fear of God in order to be useful in the society. The brigade's national president, Sunday Nwosu, represented by the national vice president, Northwest Zone, Didi Atta, says, peace and unity are panacea to national building.
What made me so happy is the man that took the mantle of leadership. He's more grounded, he's a Christian to the core, and I have the belief that he can deliver successfully. He has to be courageous, especially, you know, adolescents, working with the youth is so difficult. You have to have courage and patience. And of course, you just keep on keeping on to condole the menaces of the youth and keep it so that at least you achieve the object of the Boys Brigade.
The National Secretary, Adamu Sunday Maugui, lamented the state of insecurity that has eaten deeply into the country, urging the government to intensify efforts to end the menace.
National headquarters of the Boys Brigade to perform this function so as to have a national outlook. So what you are witnessing today is not only for Kaduna State, but for entire Boys Brigade of Nigeria. The Boys Brigade Nigeria is an advocate of peace. We are meant to give security for wherever we are, and we know that in the absence of peace, there is no any meaningful development.
Also speaking, the Kaduna State President of the Boys Brigade, Solomon Olukotun, says the mantle of leadership vested on him to lead youth is a great task that needs collective effort to address some of the challenges.
It's a call to higher duty, it's a call to higher responsibility, and cannot be done by any human being except God helps the person. I'm looking out to God for help, and I'm trusting for support from the people I'm leading. Of the Boys Brigade is the advancement of Christ's kingdom. The sole aim is to ensure that every youth that enrolls is given a platform to be himself, to know Christ, and proclaim him in life, in action, in deed.
Some of the highlights of the event was the inauguration of State Executive Council, parade drill display, and presentation of awards.
Now, Nigerians have continued to lament over the hardship caused by fuel scarcity. That's on Street Views. Stay with us.
Well, the country needs fixing itself. So if they're using 200 and whatever billion to fix dirty fuel, how did it get into the country, number one? How did the dirty... They're not giving us names. To start with, they are not giving us names. Who imported those fuel into the country? How did the fuel... And so how are they knowing what they want to fix? They should just tell us that they want to use this money for another corruption deal. And after they will tell us that, oh, they are probing these people. See, Nigerians, we are tired of all these people. We are tired of this government. That is why we need to come out and vote the right person this time around. Thank you.
Number one, our country is corrupt. So now what are we going to do about the corruption? We need to fight the corruption because from the top, the corruption started. So where then you are crying for the fuel problem, I don't see anything big deal because when a time of election like this, you must have one thing for this country to hold it on it, to make sure they're going to take that one to punish other people.
There are so many other things federal government can do. I think the marketer who brought the contaminated fuel to the country. They are still there. They are the people that are supposed to be responsible for all this cleaning. Even all the engine that this adulterated fuel are spoiled, it is marketers, it is people, whether it is NNPC or marketers, private markets that brought the fuel to the country. These are the people that are supposed to clean all those things. The 201 billion naira the federal government say they want to use for this now, I don't think there's any, I don't think it makes any sense.
Okay, the federal government using the sum of 201 billion naira to clean up the dirty fuel importation, to me is a fraud. It's a fraud. It's a kind of trying to monopolize the oil sector.
It's a good thing. I support that government, but that money, say they go take and do that thing. Nobody say they don't talk and now, they don't go see what they take and do. They want to go, they want to do them. It's good.
Still ahead on Plus News Now, South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa rejects accusation of xenophobia. Details when we return to join us again. Now, France says it is withdrawing its troops from Mali after a breakdown in relations with the country's ruling junta. Now, these developments ended a near 10-year deployment against jihadist groups that posed a growing threat in West Africa. Now, France sent soldiers to its former colony in 2013 to beat back advancing Islamic extremists, but its initial battlefield success was followed by a grinding anti-insurgency operation and rising hostility from Malians. More in this report.
France and its allies fighting Islamist militants in Mali said on Thursday they would begin their military withdrawal from the country. French President Emmanuel Macron insisted the pullback did not constitute a failure of its 9-year mission.
France intervened in Mali, first to fight terrorism, and secondly, through the request of a sovereign state and states in the region. It's this second condition that changes today. The victory over terrorism is not possible if it is not promoted by the state itself. Why are we deciding to leave today? Because the junta in power in Mali does not have this as a priority anymore.
The move has raised concerns of an emboldened insurgency across the Sahel region. But Macron said neighboring Niger had agreed to house European forces fighting Islamists. He added that the withdrawal from Mali would take 4 to 6 months. France has had troops in Mali since 2013, when it intervened to drive back Islamist militants advancing on the capital. The Islamists have since regrouped and are waging an increasingly bloody insurgency across the region. Relations between Paris and Bamako have deteriorated since the ruling military junta went back on an agreement to organize an election in February and proposed holding power until 2025. It has also deployed Russian private military contractors, which some European countries have said is incompatible with their mission. The key question still to be answered will be the futures of 14,000-strong UN peacekeeping and EU missions.
And under which
EU Foreign Policy Chief Joseph Borrell said the bloc would reach out to Bamako to discuss the future of its training missions.
The answer will come in the next days.
Successive coups in Mali, Chad and Burkina Faso, all ex-French colonies, have weakened France's West African alliances. Diplomats warn that spiraling violence could give fresh impetus to migration from West Africa.
Now, South African President Cyril Ramaphosa says he is keeping a close eye on anti-migrant protests amid the wave of unemployment, particularly among young people. Speaking to reporters in Cape Town, Ramaphosa rejected accusations of xenophobia.
Keeping a watchful eye on the way that people are responding to the presence of people from other countries in our own country. And we have made it clear that, one, as South Africans, we are not xenophobic. We do not hate or people from other countries. And in fact, we embrace people from other countries.
And outside the shores of Africa now, violence has escalated in eastern Ukraine with Russian-backed separatists and authorities in Kiev trading accusations of a ceasefire violations along the front line separating the two sides. Western governments and Moscow continue to mass troops on the borders of its smaller neighbor. Army and local residents in separatist areas said a kindergarten and a school in Ukrainian-held towns were hit by mortar shells. Now, no fatalities were reported on either side. Meanwhile, Western leaders, including U.S. President Joe Biden, Secretary of State Antony Blinken, and Lithuania, a top military officer, have warned that Russia could be on the brink of invading Ukraine amid an apparent failure to withdraw troops from its side of the border and accusations of a possible false flag operation in Ukraine's east. While Biden gave the warning at the White House, Secretary of State Blinken spoke at the UN Security Council meeting, saying he had sent a letter to Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov proposing a meeting in person in Europe next week.
We have reason to believe that they are engaged in a false flag operation to have an excuse to go in. Every indication we have is they're prepared to go into Ukraine, attack Ukraine.
Is your sense that this is going to happen now?
Yes. My sense this will happen within the next several days.
What are the things that will there any diplomatic path still available?
Yes, there is. There's a clear diplomatic path. That's why I asked Secretary Blinken to go to the United Nations and make his statement today. He'll lay out what that path is. I've laid out a path to Putin as well on, I think, Sunday. And so there is a path. There is a way through this.
They have enough troops and enough capabilities to launch a full-fledged invasion of Ukraine with very little or no warning time. And that is what makes the situation so dangerous. So it has to be a meaningful withdrawal, a meaningful de-escalation. That is what we are waiting for. So far, we have not seen that. But of course, this can change. And that's exactly what we are hoping and working for, that we see that Russia actually does what they are saying, that we see a real, significant, meaningful reduction of the Russian troops in and around Ukraine.
In business news now, oil benchmark down over 1% as France and Iran make progress towards nuclear deal. Details now.
And in business news, oil is down at the start of the London session today after news broke about both France and Iran stating that they were closer to an agreement to salvage Iran's 2015 nuclear deal with world powers. And this news, coupled with the de-escalation of the Ukraine-Russia spat, has caused the oil benchmarks to fall and possibly head to their first weekly drop in 8 weeks. The global benchmark, the Brent oil futures, is down 1.31%, currently trading at $93.57 per barrel. While the United States benchmark, the West Texas Intermediate, WTI futures, is also down 1.15%, currently trading at $92.59 per barrel. The yellow metal is bullish at the start of the London session today, trading close to an 8-month high it touched earlier in the week, as investors take a bullish stance after the U.S. Federal Reserve minutes were released. Gold futures are up 0.98%, currently trading at $1,890.15 as ounce. Investors are reacting to the minutes from the U.S. Federal Reserve's last meeting, which shows that the central bank will hike its interest rates imminently and continue to monitor inflation levels. And the federal government has approved a sum of 1.17 trillion naira for the procurement of maintenance materials for the Ibadan-Kano standard gauge at the Port Harcourt-Maiduguri narrow gauge rail lines. The Minister of Transportation, Rotimi Amechi, and his counterpart in the Ministry of Education, Adamu, made these known shortly after the weekly Federal Executive Council meeting presided over by the Vice President, Yemi Osinbajo, at the Council chambers of the Presidential Villa, Abuja. They said the amount also includes printing contracts by the National Examination Council for the 2022 Senior School Certificate Examination. And the Lagos State government is building a local data capacity to ensure that the Food and Agricultural Organization, FAO, and others scale up the fight against hunger in some of the world's most food insecure places. So far, FAO said the number of people experiencing acute food insecurity globally exceeds 135 million people. The acting program manager, CEO, Lagos State Agricultural Development Authority, LSADA, Tawai Kalitu Kosoko, said there was a need for rich data on food and nutrition to help strengthen evidence-based decision-making in the sectors. And that's business news. I am Destiny Mama. Thanks for watching.
And away from business reports, we now join our entertainment news desk for more stories.
Columbus Short has been indicted in a domestic violence case. The former scandal star was officially charged with misdemeanor counts after he was arrested following an argument with his wife, Ada Abramian Short, that allegedly became physical. He was charged with one count for domestic violence and another for child endangerment, as the alleged physical altercation with his wife took place in front of a child. It's also reported that prosecutors are officially going after Columbus. The family of comedian and actor Bob Saget has filed a lawsuit to block Florida officials from publicly releasing photographs and other records from an investigation into his death last month. Citing privacy concerns, Saget's wife and other family members said photos, videos, and other recordings stemming from Orange County Sheriff's investigation into the comedian's death should only be released to the family. Saget was found dead in an Orlando, Florida hotel room last month. His family previously said the cause was head trauma that occurred when he accidentally hit his head. Will Smith's production house Westbrook Studios and David Oyelowo's Yoruba Saxon are partnering with Netflix to produce a film adaptation of Oyeka and the Academy of the Sun. According to reports, the adaptation pitched to the streamer by Olash Chokumbi will see both Smith and Oyelowo produce. The novel, set to be published in June, follows the story of a teenager who learns she has powers and travels to Nigeria to learn more about her origins, where she discovers a threat to her newfound magical community.
Now the best in sport is up next with Mukael Tinubu.
Super Eagles captain Ahmed Musa has made a donation of 2 million naira to Kingsley Obioku, a member of the Atlanta 96 Dream Team, who recently revealed his financial difficulties and confirmed the donation. The towering former defender also played for Enugu Rangers and Udoji United, as well as Go Ahead Eagles in the Dutch League, and said he went into the transport business to support his family. Despite his contributions to the development of Nigerian football, the 47-year-old former defender, fondly known as Shagari during his playing days, said things had not been rosy since his return to Nigeria in 2008. To make ends meet, Obioku, who now coaches Ingas FC Enugu, says he has to combine his coaching job with his commercial transport business. It is not the first time, however, as Musa has a long history of kindness, having previously made similar donations and also offered scholarships and other forms of help to alleviate the suffering of the needy. No new cases of COVID-19 were reported inside the Beijing Olympics closed loop on Thursday, February 17th, for the first time, a win for organizers who have gone to extreme measures to prevent the games from seeding an outbreak that leaks into the public. The Beijing Games have taken place inside a bubble without paying spectators and with all participants, athletes, team officials, media, volunteers and staff tested daily. Temperatures are checked regularly, masks and social distancing are required. Accreditation passes are scanned to prove a negative PCR, and robots roam around the media centers spraying disinfectants. People living in the bubble said the strict measures made them feel safe. There are still nearly 14,000 people from overseas who remain in the bubble.
In general, I feel quite safe since I have so many friends getting COVID back home. But here, they tested every single morning, and I have no issues with that. It's the time in the world like this, so we have to get used to it. To be honest, it's a very good sign if you have thousands of cases in other countries at the same time. So I think statistically it's quite much less chance to get COVID here.
Lebron James led the charge as the Los Angeles Lakers rallied from a 12-point fourth quarter deficit to beat the Utah Jazz 106-101 on Wednesday. James led the charge for the Lakers, scoring 15 of his 33 points in the final quarter. The Lakers did get some bad news, however, as Anthony Davis went down in the second quarter after spraining his right ankle. With the win, the Lakers are now 27-31 for the season, while the Utah Jazz are on 36-22.
Bring it out to this AD, and that's Anthony Davis. Now LeBron. Davis!
And reports just reaching us now indicate that the National Association of Road Transport Owners, NATO, the National Union of Petroleum and Natural Gas Workers, NOPENG, and the Petroleum Tanker Drivers, PTD, have suspended their planned strike. Now, this is following the intervention of the NNPC. The parties have pledged collaboration on ensuring nationwide availability of petroleum products. We'll bring you details of that in our subsequent bulletins. And that's the news now. For more stories, please follow us at PlusTvAfrica on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And do subscribe to our YouTube channel at PlusTvAfrica and PlusTvAfrica Lifestyle. I am Justin Akadonye. Many thanks for watching.
Hello guys, and welcome to another exciting episode of Tea Time, the entertainment show that gives you proper insights to all the trending entertainment topics that we have for you today on social media. I go by the name Mr. Steven Eder, and today I'm chilled with my girl, even though, we had our little something. Kofo in the building. How are you doing this morning?
Fine, thank you. How
Yeah,
are you
good to
doing?
see you. You look sharp. I mean,
Are you sure?
yeah, the H control is doing a lot of, yeah.
What did you call it?
That's what you said. You said H control.
H control call.
What did you call it? No, I heard you telling the makeup artist that you needed her to, do the H control.
Is it H control? It's called H control.
Oh, my bad. I thought you said H. And then for a second I was wondering, I'm like,
What's H?
What's the H
maybe
for?
air.
Hair control. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
You're still on the right track, bro.
Yeah. But then you told me your morning was scattered. You had a rough morning.
No, yeah, maybe. but I woke up really, really late.
That's because you had a late